Welcome to a new ATCC webinar Branding in the Age of AI, presented by Sebastian Polacek, one of our members of the IT committee. I am Luis Vinay. I'm going to be your host and moderator today. Thank you for joining us. Before we dive into a webinar topic, let's take a moment to introduce ourselves and give you a brief overview on who we are and what the ATCC does. The Argentina-Texas Chamber of Commerce, it's an independent, nonprofit, voluntary membership association founded in 2016 to promote investment, trade, education, and networking opportunities between Texas and Argentina by catalyzing innovative, ethical, and produced business relationships. The ATCC also offers support and resources to help companies navigate the cultural differences and overcome the challenges associated with business by doing business in forgate country. The Chamber is dedicated to fostering a robust economic relationship between Argentina and Texas and promoting growth and prosperity for both regions. Today's webinar will discuss the AI impact on brands, including content creation and strategies for brand visibility in the AI era. Sebastian will share with us a real-life case study for illustration on this topic. Sebastian Polacek is co-founder and CEO of Cactus. With over 16 years of experience in online marketing, Sebastian led Cactus, a branding agency he co-founded in 2007. He worked with clients across Europe, the US, and Latin America, such as Coca-Cola, Microsoft, Bayer, the Natural History Museum of New York, and Fermented Media, delivering innovative and engaging online marketing campaigns and projects. Before we start, we'd like to thank you, our corporate members, for their continuous support on the Chamber. Pan American Energy, or Gold member, Duralite, Global, and PCR, Silver members, as well AESA, Marble O'Farah, Mariel, Mayor Brown, Practia, Pros Hale, and Q Advanced, which are all bronze members. Let us clarify that our webinars are recorded and uploaded to a YouTube channel, so you can watch them anytime you want, and you can also download the presentation if you so desire. A brief indication of the outline of webinar series. So Sebastian will present his talk and kindly request you to hold any question or concerns until the end of this presentation. You can submit your questions into the QA chat, and we will read them once Sebastian's presentation finishes. Without any further ado, let's begin.
Thank you, Luis, for the intro. Good morning and good afternoon to everyone. As Luis anticipated, today I will be discussing and sharing with you some thoughts and ideas around two topics that I feel really passionate about, which are branding and technology, and specifically within technology, AI, which is such a hot topic today and probably will affect us a lot during the many years to come. So I will start with a bit of a personal journey with technology, and I will go back to 1984. I was about 8 years old, and I was given my first mobile device. Probably some of you are familiar with Super Mario even back then. It was a very simple, repetitive game, but it was already extremely engaging and a game changer for my childhood. About 10 years later, I had a bit of a different, more immersive experience. I had, just to put you in the setting of 1994, this was before the internet even existed as a massively adopted tool. So I had my desktop computer completely isolated from the world, just playing a few games here and there. And I had a very good friend, a neighbor, just a few houses away from my house, Mario, and he called me, rang me, and told me, "You have to come to my house immediately I discovered something completely amazing. And bring your computer. So I basically, grabbed my tower CPU under my arm, keyboard, mouse, and I went immediately to Mario's house, and he got this parallel cables, the ones that you use to connect your computer to the printer, and connected both CPUs, and did a few settings here and there. And after a few minutes, we were playing, for my the first time in my life, online gaming experience, not through the internet, obviously, which wasn't a thing back then, but connected, to computers. And I could already, feel the absolute excitement of sharing an online space with someone else. This was Doom. I don't know if you guys are familiar with it. I'm sure many of you are. And we were basically, killing these beasts together, playing online. About 15 years after that, we've got here Steve Jobs, who's presenting the iPhone, and basically he unveiled to the world this new device. I was in the US at the time, just visiting, and I was kind of figuring out whether I would take the chance to buy an iPhone, given that it was only meant to be used in the US if you had AT&T, otherwise it was blocked. And I took my chances. I reviewed quite a few videos on YouTube to see how I could jailbreak this heavenly device, and I actually took a chance, bought it, and I could immediately realize how this would be changing our lives, which essentially it did. Especially with the launch of the App Store a year after that. So this was definitely the start of a huge revolution in how we engaged with technology, with content, and with ourselves, basically. But the truly most impressive technological event that I experienced, and I'm sure that maybe this is not the last one, it was this year, early this year, when I had a conversation with a machine, a chatbot. And I'm sure all of you are very familiar by now with ChatGPT, which was the machine I was having a conversation with. And I'm referring it as a conversation because it was an actual peer-to-peer conversation. We're not there yet as far as having full consciousness or intelligence equivalent to what we humans have, but it was definitely something out of the ordinary. The way that it could understand, it could give me ideas, feedback. I didn't have to type any specific commands or prompts or anything. It was a natural conversation. And I was shocked. I was really, really shocked by it. And basically, my thought was, okay, so finally we have really a robot that it's actually intelligent, and it's evolving, and it's growing in its capabilities. But it was definitely a game changer. And I think we've all had experience the last many years with other type of bots and AI type of devices. I'm sure many of you have or tried Alexa or Siri on their phones, or other bots that we can definitely remember when we started engaging with these devices, and it was quite interesting and impressive. But it was really giving them very precise instructions of what we wanted and what we needed. I've got Alexa in my kitchen, so I ask it for a timer, and for a song, and for the a weather forecast and stuff like that. But it was definitely nothing like what we are experiencing now with ChatGPT. And we're having these evolving conversations, and it's really clearly a revolution that's starting with ChatGPT and many other technologies that have been already around and are increasingly showing up and engaging with us in different forms. And just to give you a sense, and I'm sure most of you are familiar with this, but the magnitude of the way it was adopted in such a short time, and you know, we feel it's really an eruption, not so much a launch. It was quite impressive, and just to put it in context, it was the most successful launch ever. If we take into considerations how many days it took ChatGPT to reach 1 million users, and we compare this with platforms that, you know, we're very familiar with and use every day, like Instagram and Spotify or Netflix or Twitter, Facebook, and the next in line is Instagram with 75 days. But really the most impressive thing, it's not how quickly it launched without any actual, you know, marketing campaign or anything. It was really mouth to mouth. But the actual, you know, how it's evolving, how it hasn't stopped growing since it launched at the end of last year. Here we've got Sam Altman, who about 3 weeks ago, they did their first dev day, OpenAI dev day, where, you know, they reached out to the developers community and shared a few numbers that are quite impressive. Over 2 million developers are already engaging with OpenAI's APIs and products. Almost every Fortune 500 company is already using ChatGPT. And, you know, there's over 100 million weekly active users using these platforms. So it's astonishing. And you know, I'm sure some of you follow, he's been fired from OpenAI, then rehired. And it's kind of I think it's a big shift in how we think about technology, and especially about, you know, AI, as of, you know, how we should be engaging and deploying these type of products. But it's definitely something that it's been very, very impressive. And I think the same way that, you know, the App Store was the revolution for the iPhone a year after it launched, OpenAI also communicated that they are launching a bot store, and essentially you can customize any, you know, a GPT version to your own company or your own needs, and integrate it with external APIs, and essentially then offer these customized bots and commercialize them. So this is opening a kind of a huge, you know, new market, new era, I would say, of how we're engaging with technology. And, you know, going now a bit back to my other passion, which is branding and marketing, you know, the question is, how can a branding or a marketing or a communications team take advantage of this? And how, you know, what's our view on how AI is specifically affecting the branding universe? You know, we are very aware that it's affecting everything. So, you know, I want to share a bit of that with you. And already we can see that during this year, in the US, over 50% of companies generating content are already using AI in some capability of their efforts to produce content, to generate content. And almost 2/3 or over 2/3 were planning to use it during this year, which is already, you know, coming to an end. So it's quite amazing, you know, how obviously the element of, you know, ease of use, the way that you engage with ChatGPT, which is, you know, natural language, it is making it something very easy to adopt, and we're seeing that happening a lot. So, you know, the next question that you know, I want to ask you is, you know, can and should you leverage it for your brands, for your companies? Is it something that you should be thinking of, which I'm sure, you know, probably many of you are? And our, you know, obvious response is absolutely. I mean, who wouldn't want to have the talent and the, you know, ability to create these magic things like Messi on a team? Who wouldn't want to have something that can have this kind of impact within a team, a communications team in our case? And obviously the you know, what the way that we're looking at it is, okay, but what happens, you know, what happens if I actually, get ChatGPT within my team, that I have, Messi within my team. And basically, if everyone has Messi in their team, because essentially ChatGPT is a very inexpensive technology that I can use in a very easy way. So the kind of the barriers of entry to having Messi in your team, which sounds crazy when we put it, in this analogy, it's very low. So what we're seeing is that, if everybody has Messi, then nobody really has Messi. No one will be able to differentiate from one another just by having AI tools within their team. However, you could argue that if everybody has Messi, you should make sure that you have Messi as well on your team. So as far as, can I or should I, we feel that it's something that we should definitely be including within our teams, because otherwise we are allowing a huge advantage to our competition. But the fact that everybody has him on their team leads to, the very difficult task of differentiation and the very overwhelming scenario that we already had before AI, right? Before AI, we think of already over 10 years ago, we have social media, and social media has been a way of, getting overwhelming amounts of content in our devices and in our inboxes, in emails, and everywhere. So the fact that we already were in a scenario where we had overwhelming amounts of content, brings the question of, what's going to happen now? If we have AI, which is a tool that allows us to create content in a very efficient, quick way, then we're looking at a scenario where we are having probably a tsunami of content around us. So we want to make sure that, we are on top of that wave and we're not being swiped by that overwhelming amount of content from a brand perspective. So essentially what we're saying here is what we have at stake here with this scenario that I'm just describing is one of the most valuable things that a brand, that a company, that an organization has, which is its identity. We want to make sure that we can leverage everything that AI has to give us without getting lost in the generation of just generic low-value content. We need to make sure that our identity is as crisp, as clear as always, or even more, given this scenario. So just going now a little bit into what can you do and how can you leverage with the AI tools? How can you integrate these tools and processes into your content generation and marketing and branding efforts? How can you do that? And I will run you through some of the tools that we are using in our agency to provide and to just perform our processes with our clients. So ideas, everything for us starts with ideas. We engage with a client, we figure out who they are, what they need, and we start brainstorming. And what's happening now in our agency is that every brainstorm that we do has a computer with ChatGPT integrated into that equation. It's something that it's happening for quite a few months, and it's impressive what we get out of ChatGPT. It won't do magic on its own. You need to be the one, prompting and feeding ChatGPT with the actual ideas, but it's amazing what you're getting out of it and what we are getting out of it, and that's something I would definitely recommend doing. Copywriting. We do lots of content that we need to produce for website, blog posts, social media posts, and we're using ChatGPT for that as well. And it's, again, quite impressive how it's evolving in what it gives us back and the time that we save doing this. Editing, right? Sometimes we need to get, texts in 100 characters, and sometimes we need to fill in 2 pages of content, and ChatGPT is absolutely fantastic to summarize or expand on any topic that we throw at it. Proofreading. We are a company that we operate in at least 3 languages: Portuguese, Spanish, and English. And it has been, it's always been a huge challenge to have the ability to be precise and to have a local voice. And ChatGPT won't give you, the very specific local tone that you need for each, super tiny segment, but it will definitely remove every grammar, spelling, text structure deficiencies that you might have in any language. And it's amazing, and it's been a very cost-effective way of making a process that we always had to do with local people in each market in a super way. Images, and here we're using quite a few different tools that have AI integrated into it. DALL-E 3, which is part of OpenAI and allows us to create images from scratch, text to images in a way that you couldn't believe. But also the Adobe Suite, Illustrator, Photoshop are doing things with cropping images and changing colors and doing lots of things that before was quite a manual job. It's doing an incredible job. Website development. I know many of you are in technology, and we've been already experiencing with platforms that we use quite a bit how websites are easily turned into responsive websites. There's always a need in everything that I just described, a need for us to do the kind of the final effort on anything. But again, the savings are amazing. Video production, which is a huge part of most branding strategies that we're working now. The world, spins around video everywhere, and the brands that we're working with, they understand that usually, and they the fact that we can do transcriptions, subtitling, text to speech. We're doing voiceovers with AI, which is absolutely amazing. And before we had to always have someone, a voiceover artist, which we still get and do, and they are much better than AI. But already, there's lots of things that we can use within AI that makes it amazing for video production purposes. Meeting trackers, as I'm sure that you guys already been using, from Zoom that has now recently integrated this, Fireflies that we use quite a bit, and we get transcriptions of every meeting, and then we can basically track, search, index, and do lots of things with content that we get from our clients as a much more efficient brief than asking them to write something for us. And all of these different tools have already accounted in quite a lot of savings in many companies. I know it has for us, but there are surveys done this year that reveals that using ChatGPT, approximately 25% of companies have been saving between $50,000 and $70,000, and about 11% save more than $100,000, which obviously, it's a correlation with the volume of content that you generate. But however, the fact that you can, from everything that I just explained, do huge savings, it's quite amazing, to be honest. So obviously, going back to the branding element, the authenticity element, we always need to be very aware, and I'll go into a few examples now, that all of this needs to be built on top of a very solid foundation where there's a very clear, distinct identity. Otherwise, you're just, building, low-value content. That's the real thing, and you're just overwhelming people with content. So how do we do this, and how do we approach the authenticity part of it? And basically, what we do with every relationship that we start with a client is we kick it off with a workshop where we invite and get all of the key stakeholders of our client to participate of that workshop, where we scan and we make sure that we figure out what are the key ingredients that make that company unique. Because we have a true feeling, you know, we've worked with companies from every, you know, walk of life and every type of industry and business that you can imagine. And they all have something, otherwise they wouldn't be in business. It's a very competitive, you know, world today. I'm sure all of us can attest to that. So there's always something that you have, and our first job is making sure that we identify that we make sure that we understand what's that equation that makes each company unique. And with that clarity, we come up with, you know, a strategy, a structure, a set of unique pillars that we attach to each brand. And that's how we build a creative concept around a specific brand and a specific company. And that's our foundation. That's how we get started. So let me show you a few examples of a couple of companies, some within the oil and gas industry, which I know many of you are involved in. So this is a brand that used to be called Sumum Energy, based in Colombia and Chile. And they reached out to us a bit over a year, and they had the need of changing their name, not only just revamping their brand, but they had to change their name for legal reasons. So we transformed this company, which offers services for the oil and gas sector, into this brand, a more modern, dynamic brand called Bond. And essentially the concept that we worked around Bond and the uniqueness that we find within them is this idea of conectando buena energía, or connecting good energy. Obviously, they are within the energy sector, but this idea of connecting good energy speaks to what is the essence of this company. They are essentially connecting, you know, challenges that they find within their clients with solutions that their engineers provide. They're connecting the potential energy that's locked underneath the surface with the opportunities of, you know, mobilizing life above the surface. They have the huge challenge of operating within areas where there are local communities that they need to engage with, and they need to make sure they make their lives better, and they need to connect with these local communities in a very, you know, strategic, smart, and careful way, caring about these communities. And essentially, they have the biggest challenge of all, that they need to connect this kind of legacy technology and environmental challenge with the new transition that they need to go into the you know, a cleaner way of providing energy. So, you know, connecting good energy speaks to that idea, and Bond, the actual name, and this, you know, this way that we're doing with VN is the connector, is the way that they engage with these different pair of elements. And, you know, all of this idea we then turned into a content strategy where we create different bits of content that tell their story, their achievements, their point of view, their challenges, you know, show the way that they do business. And essentially all of this that you've just seen was embedded within our process with AI, and we've been using in these different parts of the process where we do this AI. And here what you can see is the kind of the final output in a very, you know, zoomed out version of it. But this is a playbook, which is what we provide a company when we finish all of this process, right? Where we have all of the branding elements, the design elements that they need to use in their different touch points with clients, with partners, with employees, uniforms, vehicles, etc. Then we work on a content strategy, on a social media strategy, on a website that reflects this and can tell this regularly, on, you know, video production that then feeds all of these content strategies as well. So this is just an example of how we make sure that there is a, you know, healthy combination between this authenticity within the brand and what they stand for, and the ability to produce this efficiently using AI. I'll give you another case study, and this is a company that it also started, they approached us about a year ago. They had this brand, their name is Antonina & Co, and they didn't have to change their name or anything. They just wanted to have a new image, a new identity. They felt that this was the brand they started with over 10 years ago, and they needed to reflect, in a better way what they stand for. And this is a company of, over 50 people from all over the world, most of them Hispanic, but also Asian, European, American. And they help people, transition or deal with their immigration challenges and how they can actually enter the US. So, they're all about empathy, about diversity, about, figuring out how to best help these people. So we came up with this completely new identity, which is this migrant bird with, made of kind of origami style, and that represents within the multicolor and this, the ability of flying into this new horizon and opening up these, new universes and worlds for people in a warm, approachable, friendly way. So we went from that kind of blocky structured identity to this one, and we went and redid their website to make it clear, to make it colorful, to make it friendly, to look into your face, to make it multi-language as well. We work with them also in, with billboards and, presenting this value proposition of we fight for your immigration dreams, and this idea of being open and ready to help you with a smile in their faces, and very friendly. And also we worked on a social media strategy and making sure that they can explain to everyone the very, difficult challenges of the journey of getting your immigration resolved, and naturalization, which is quite difficult. And they are very good at putting their voice and their face, and we work with them in building a studio, a filming studio within their office with very inexpensive equipment that we bought from Amazon. We did a workshop with them. They're based in Atlanta, so we go there quite often. And we did a full day workshop where we trained them on how to shoot these videos with a green screen that you can see here and lights and their iPhones. They didn't have to buy any expensive. So this was like a $2,000 investment in having this studio in their office. And then we work with them and they send us the videos and we edit them. And there's lots of collaboration, which is, very helpful for them to get their voice out there. And they have quite a lot of fun with it as well, which also translates in their friendliness in the content that they generate. And again, we produce then a playbook where we essentially put everything that we build for the brand so that they can use and execute, and we help them do that as well. So finally, the last case here is another oil and gas company. This one is based in Argentina. They had a huge opportunity to, revamp their image. They were participating this 2023 in the oil and gas trade show in Buenos Aires, AOG. And, we wanted to revamp their image and figure out how they should be presenting themselves. They didn't want a radical or a drastic change in their image, but they did want to be a bit more updated. And we wanted to make sure that we express what we felt and what we found was unique to them, which is this idea of being very creative engineers in the way that they provide solutions. So we came up with this slogan concept, which is Ingeniería Alternativa, alternative engineering, which is, thinking outside of the box, being different in the solutions that they provide. They are more of a smaller play compared to the huge multinational players. So their strength is in their creativity and how nimble they are, how quick they are. So we want to make sure that we express that, and we build an entire booth stand for the AOG where we told their story, where we use this idea of the fracture, which is what they, where they work usually in, the fracking element of the oil and gas industry in Vaca Muerta. So we made it a kind of a key component of this huge wall where we presented their different kind of milestones in their a bit over 10-year time as a company. We spoke about their, how they address the environmental challenges, showing success stories in a touch screen and an interactive device. And again, trying to be a bit alternative in the way that we do things and how they show themselves. We came up with this idea of the beer duct, el cervezaducto. So they offered beer within their booth, and we created these illustrations to show a bit of, how, they would design this beer duct and bring beer, in this case, to this situation, right? So those are kind of 3 case studies. And I think for me, the key thing that I would like you guys to take with you is artificial intelligence is definitely a huge revolution. It will change everything. And, communication and branding will also be affected dramatically. But authentic identity and having a very clear sense of who you are as a company is as powerful and as revolutionary as AI. And I think the challenge that at least we want to present to all of you is, the ability to combine and to add these 2 ingredients, right? The artificial intelligence and authentic identity. This is the real opportunity. This is the way that you will be able to make things, at a different level. So this is, how we think and how we work, and how we're thinking of integrating AI into everything. We've been, over 16 years as a business, and since 2018, we've been almost, not exclusively, but a lot focused in the US, working with some of these clients. So yeah, thank you everybody for your time. And if you have any questions, of course.
Yeah, we have some questions already. So let's start with the first one. So the first one is, how do you manage the responses from ChatGPT gives you? Because sometimes, and everyone that use the ChatGPT sometimes, you see how not very good are. So you cannot trust 100% what ChatGPT gives you. So how do you manage that?
Yeah, it's a great question, and it's absolutely right. You can't trust, the same way that you need to make sure that you have checks in place when you get a proposal from someone in your team. You need to make sure that you review it, that that it makes sense. So that's, I would say 2 things. One is everything that we create or we generate with AI, we never take it for granted. We look at it, we analyze it, and we see how much it makes sense. I have to say that it makes sense many of the times. It not always works, but and the other thing is prompting, how you make sure that you ask the right questions. But as I mentioned before, I wouldn't say that you need to be super specific. You just need to make sure that you give enough context, and that you give enough information, and you usually get good answers. But yeah, I wouldn't never ever just post something that ChatGPT gives me without any supervision.
It's like asking, sometimes I feel like it's asking a 7-year-old kid about that has read a lot of books and has this perfect memory. Sometimes they give you the perfect answer, sometimes give you an answer that doesn't have the right context. So sometimes it's really funny. So another interesting question is, how do you? It's a compound question, but it asks how powerful it is, and we know it's really powerful. And how do you know if you're using correctly? And can you give us some hints on the kind of prompts that you usually use that give you the better answers from Chat GPT and the other AIs?
Yeah, yeah. I'll start with the second part. I think for me the amazing element of ChatGPT and many of the things that we're starting to see in other platforms as well is you don't need to be. Let's see. I'll put it in context. We're doing creative stuff, right? So you might be looking to create. I don't know. We've tried creating charts, infographics, turning data into. So there are things that ChatGPT is not great at. But I would say that many of the things that I described as part of our process, and we cannot make it generic to any process within any industry, but the ability to come up with ideas, concepts, even justifications of things that we think of, and we sometimes want to get backup of why we're thinking of this idea or that idea, or new point of views. It's amazing, and you don't need to be super precise in if you use this word or that word. I think you need to. We are being more and more bold in what we ask ChatGPT, and we're getting results that amazes us. So I would say you need to test it, you need to push it, and you need to have the enough of your own ideas to make sure that it fits what you're trying to build or create.
Yeah, my tip would be make only one question to each time, and I use the word in the context of. So if you make a question about something and you can indicate in which context you want the answer to be, that helps you a lot because it kind of narrows the response, because it might interpret it in more than one way. That would be my my advice on using it. So there's another question that says, who uses ChatGPT in the company? Everyone, or just the marketing part?
Within our company, I mean, we are an agency, so we have designers, copywriters, video editors, project managers, and we're all using it for different things, from writing an email to a client to creating a proposal to all of the things that I mentioned. And what we see in our clients, which are usually either marketing teams or or just owners of the company or HR people, everybody's starting to at least be curious. And I've seen the transition of people testing it just because they feel curious with the technology, and there's a point where you figure out how it's actually productive and it's not just entertainment or just being curious. So I think it's definitely something that it's catching up with most of us in different ways. But yes.
Yeah, so basically ChatGPT knows about everything, so you can ask him about pretty much anything. My personal experience, I use AI assisted assisting tools like Grammarly. I use it a lot, which is a very specific use for AI, which I find invaluable because it helps you also give you information about your writing, and it helps you improve what you write a lot. I write a lot in English, which is not obviously my first language, and Grammarly helps me a lot. So there is I have another question for you. That is, what is the most usual, or what are the most usual objections that you get when you pitch to your clients and you mention that you use AI? What are the objections you get from that?
The objections?
Yeah.
That's a good question. To be honest, the way that we're using it now, it's not so much you know, in a way that we make it explicit what it's done by, you know, ChatGPT or what it's done by us. There is obviously the with creating imagery, there's the you know, thing of content rights, right? And that's a topic that has been you know, in the you know, in the papers for, you know, in the US with the actors strike, and you know, there's a huge thing there, I think, with
deep fail.
yeah, with how you use it and who owns the rights and who get paid for that content. So I think it's still, you know, very much in the early stages, but we're not getting, you know, we're not putting out there content that it's exclusively produced by AI. We are using it to improve our process and make it more efficient. So we haven't got yet that kind of pushback of, you know, hold on, what's you know, what's this going to be used for, or anything like that.
So if you had to summarize, what would be the shortcomings that you see in the current generation of AI-based tools? If you try to,
Say that again,
you have to
sorry.
be very brief. So if you have to summarize, right, the current shortcomings of the AI tools that we have access today, what would that be in your experience?
I think it's hard to say shortcomings, because I think we're at a stage where, I don't know, you know, everybody probably had their own experience with AI, but I think it's been a huge surprise, you know, how, and I think it's evident with some of the stats that I show you, like
Yeah,
how effective and how much work it can do for us. So
yeah,
I think we're still, at least that's my feeling, I'm still under the impression that this is, you know, it came from the sky, right? It's, you know, wow, this is amazing. So,
yeah. So
but I would
that's
say two things as far as the shortcomings. We are getting used to already getting a lot of things done just by asking in a very magical way. So we already kind of, you know, I want photorealistic images in a quicker, better way, and I'm getting some of that, but I want more. I want video, and you know, it's starting to appear. So you know, I want voiceovers, which are already getting, but you know, I just want to put a sample of a voice of someone and just get voiceovers like that. So I think, you know, we're seeing that that's not that far away. And I would say the other shortcoming, or the other thing, is obviously all of the concerns security wise, and you know, yeah, the deep fakes. And there's, you know, there is a very serious concern of how AI will impact our lives in general. I'm concerned, at least, you know, I'm fascinated by it
yeah,
and scared in equal in equal
in equal
amounts.
amounts. Yeah.
Yes.
So what do you think, again, from your perspective, what can we expect from AI tools in the medium? I don't think we can do a long term guess, but in the short to medium term, what do
Yeah,
you think we're
I,
getting?
I don't know if anyone saw a post a couple of days ago. There is a model agency in Spain that created an AI model, photorealistic as hell. They created content with AI, and they created an account in Instagram that's already running, and people think it's a kind of a real model, and they're already apparently selling the services of this model as a model, and
Yeah,
already earning quite a lot of money with it, and creating a, you know, a persona around it. So, you know, it's a bit of, you know, the things that we've seen in movies maybe 15 years ago
yeah.
about AI. I think it's happening. It's quite amazing, but I think everything is quicker than we thought it would be.
Okay, so I don't think that we have any other questions. Maybe we can give a couple, 1 minute or so if someone has uh, another question. If not, we can end the webinar. Someone? All right, no. Okay, so thank you very much for having assisted to these webinars. Thank you, Sebastian, for putting the time and the effort of presenting. This is a very, very interesting topic. And I don't know, Lucas, you can show the information if someone wants to get in touch with the ATCC, the right channels. But if not, I want to thank you all, and I hope I can see you on the next webinar. So thank you very much. Have a great day or afternoon or night, whenever you are watching this recording. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, everyone.